Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm Office Bloke Daz.
I'm Office Bloke Aidan.
Here we are on Sports Edition. If sports for you, you know what to do. Leave us a like and subscribe if you don't mind, please. No, it makes sense.
It does.
Thank you. Which sport is tougher, rugby league or American football? NRL versus
Well,
NFL.
why rugby league, not rugby union? Isn't rugby union tougher? Or is it just pretty much the same?
I think you've got to be more physically fit playing rugby league than you do rugby union.
Yeah.
I think rugby union you can get a bit of a breather. I think rugby league's very difficult to get a breather.
Yeah, true.
I've had a go at playing both. We played rugby league at school, and then we moved on to rugby union as we got older.
What do you reckon's tougher?
Of rugby league or American football?
Yeah.
It's a tough guess because I've played flag football, and again there was a lot of contact in that as well. Not like full contact like you have with.
It's not the same, is it?
Not the same as it. No, it's not. You can't compare. But it's still a physical sort of like side to it when people are sort of like blocking and pushing and all that kind of stuff. Still very physical. And I think when you look at the size of a lot of people in the NFL think that, I've heard someone say to us one day, of course an NFL player would stand out in the UK walking around who's 6'5", and I'm like, you don't think we have 6'5" people in the UK?
Yeah, that's true.
Or in Australia, you look at the size of Fiji, guys from Fiji, or places like Tonga. They're absolute giants of people. You know what I mean? When you see them, South Africa, you look at some of them. You look at, I think it was a France flanker the other day. He was like 6'8" and 28 stone or something.
Yeah, rugby players are massive, mate.
Yeah, they are. So the size, as far as size-wise goes, I think it's very comparable what they are. The physicality of running at speed in the NFL and clashing into each other is like car crash speed sort of thing.
I think the main comparison is people say that rugby players don't wear pads and all that.
Yeah, but you're not running into each other like full on all the time.
You can do it at some point.
You can, but you're not. That's not the game. The game's sort of like you're kind of
and
and rolling.
And also, you're not really you're not hitting them. You're tackling them.
You're tackling them. Yeah,
you have to go below the waist type
correct.
thing.
Yeah, so there's not really that
below
same
the
sort of
shoulders even.
two very different sports, I think, to compare. But I know a lot of people always try and compare which is tougher. But they are two very tough sports.
Yeah, let's get into it.
See what this says. Yeah.
12 of 19 in this half. Oh my goodness! Gets it on there to ball!
Welcome. In this video we will be discussing and comparing the toughness of two of the most physically demanding sports outside of combat sport.
Rugby is a tough sport, man.
Rugby league and American football.
He's hitting him there.
Specifically, we will be comparing the NRL competition in Australia to the NFL in the US.
What do you reckon a tougher game is?
Both sports require a high level of skill, athleticism, and endurance. But which one is tougher? Let's find out. Rugby league and American football are both very physical full-contact sports that are played with a ball and involve two teams trying to score points. However, there are some key differences between the two sports. First, let's take a look at the NRL. This sport, formerly known as rugby league, originated from England and is played by two teams of 13 players. The game is played on a field that is slightly larger than a soccer field and is divided into two 40-minute halves. What makes the NRL so tough is the physicality and pace of the game. Players are constantly hitting each other at high speeds and must be able to take and deliver hard hits.
Brutal, isn't it?
Stopped right in his tracks.
We are here with NFL superstar and Detroit Lions running back Reggie Bush. Are you surprised about those hit-ups and the lack of protective gear?
I mean, I know enough about rugby league to know how physical it is, so I'm not surprised, but to see it in person is different than watching on TV. It hurts to watch. It hurts me to watch.
The game also requires a high level of endurance, as players must be able to maintain their stamina under fatigue for the full 80-minute match, which seems like an eternity compared to the NFL. Now, let's take a look at the NFL. This sport, also known as American football, is a full-contact sport played by two teams of 11 players. The game is played on a field that is 100 yards long and is divided into four 15-minute quarters. What makes the NFL so tough is the explosiveness, speed, and agility required to play the game. Players must be able to outmaneuver their opponents and make quick, precise movements.
You got to be explosive. You got to be very agile. You got to have a really good vision, like he has. So all those same things that Jared has, man. I think he'll be able to play in the NFL.
NFL play.
One big difference, something that stands out for me as well, is when you're playing rugby, you're playing both ways. You're playing defense and offense.
Yeah, that's true.
Whereas in NFL, you're not. You're playing one way. I mean, some people do play two ways, sort of thing. And there's no real, a quarterback's very well protected a lot of the time by his linemen or whatever.
Yeah.
Whereas you scrum half in probably the equivalent position, probably a scrum half in rugby, get stuck in.
Yeah, it's very different. Like all the positions in rugby are like they're all more similar.
Yeah, it's.
But when they're passing the ball around on the pitch, like no one's really got a different like.
No, you can use your big guy if you're going to drive and you're going to sort of like maul and stuff like that and ruck. You know, you get your big guys sort of like pushing and in the scrum you've obviously got your little hooker that sort of like stands at. He's not literally stocky.
That won't touch the ball. Do you know what I mean? Like everyone's getting hold of the
everyone
ball.
Everyone gets involved in the ball. Yeah, it's. I think you're going to touch the ball at some point all the way through the game.
Yeah.
You know.
Players are some of the largest and strongest athletes in the world, and the sport is known for its high-impact tackles and physical play. The game also requires a high level of endurance, not as much as what we'd observe in the NRL, but players must be able to maintain their stamina for the full 60-minute match. So, which sport is tougher? Many make the argument the NRL is tougher because the players don't use helmets, pads, and layers of protective gear.
I do. I look at American football, I'm like, take off the fucking helmets. What's up with the shoulder pads?
But on the flip side, this can mean the NFL is the tougher sport because the players don't hold back and go at it 1,000%, with zero care of self-preservation increasing the chances of whiplash and head injuries.
If you talked about contact, there could be an argument that NFL is tougher because they have those pads on so they think, well, they don't get as hurt when they fucking driving with their heads in that.
Take bare knuckle boxing, for instance. Fighters pull their punches to a degree to avoid breaking any bones in their hands, while in regular boxing, the padding in the gloves protects the fighter's hands, resulting in harder blows and the higher likeliness of concussions to occur. Does this mean the NFL is tougher because of the higher chances of serious bodily harm? Or is the NRL the tougher sport because of the lack of protective gear?
So I was training at MMA and having a couple of fights while I was playing rugby league.
Well, I would imagine that just the sheer tenacity and cardio that you would get from rugby. Rugby is a tough fucking sport.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I think Americans should play.
Rugby, in my opinion, sacrilege. People will say sacrilege. It's just inherently more badass than football.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, there's no question.
This pad thing is ridiculous.
The argument is NFL actually suffer more from CTE because you've got blokes flying out of nowhere and their brain is going crazy everywhere. Whereas NRL at least has the protection of, I don't want to cut myself, I don't want to be head-on-head clash.
Yeah, them flying at each other head first, that doesn't make them tough, that makes them lunatics.
Whoever you agree with, both the NRL and the NFL are incredibly physically demanding and require a high level of skill, athleticism, and endurance. Both codes should be given the respect they deserve regardless of which sporting competition you're a fan of. Let me know which of the two sports you think is the toughest in the comments. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
Yeah, it's one of them where it's two very different sports, both very physical. It's like saying what's tougher, UFC or boxing. Don't know, it's the same sort of
UFC.
You'd say UFC, but again, like you said there, punches are pulled sometimes when you got bare knuckles, or they'd like padded gloves because you don't want to hurt yourself. You know, it's like I say, I've played rugby, not at a level like the NRL or anything like that, but at the same standard as everyone. I say the same standard as everyone else on the pitches.
Yeah,
they're all on the field is sort of thing, and it's very, very demanding. And we in the north of England where we are, we play rugby league. Rugby league's more northern. There's most of the teams when you look at them, Widnes, Wigan, St Helens, they're all up this way.
Yeah.
Leeds,
yeah.
They're all rugby league teams up this way. When you look at rugby union, it's more of a southern thing. Although you do have rugby union teams up here like Sale and people like that, but the rugby union is more of a southern or national thing, I would say. But rugby league's definitely more northern. And then when you look at the rugby league, when they play like the equivalent of like the Champions League and the best teams on the planet, it's always teams from Australia that win it. Because it's more of a code down there that's like they get the best players in the southern hemisphere, especially in Australia.
I would have thought New Zealand because Australia's also got AFL with like American
football.
Aussie
rules football. Sorry, yeah. What you've got with that though is like you say, New Zealand will have rugby union, but New Zealand's big on rugby. It's big on rugby league as well, and I think some of the top teams are in New Zealand as well. But
that's like the main sport there, though, isn't it?
But it's a bit like the Premier League. It attracts the best players from. I think there's more money in the Australian leagues. That it attracts more money coming into the NRL than it does into. But I think the NRL. I think it does have New Zealand teams in it.
Yeah, I thought
Kiwi
so.
teams. Yeah, but it's. I mean, they're both very, very tough and demanding sports when you look at it when it goes into it, and you just have to look at the physiques of the players. Then you know that that's what you're up against. You know, once you go against anyone that's in the NFL or in the NRL. You better be in for it. You better be in for the day out. You know what I mean?
know, right? Yeah.
There's no hiding. Put it that way. But I don't know which is tougher. It's I can only go off. Like I say, I watch both.
It's just it's a debate, isn't it? There's not really a right answer.
No, there isn't a right answer. It is a debate. It's good for time. They've both got the right. They both got the ones where saying we're tougher because, and we're tougher because. You know, there's loads of that. But it's to find out which one's the actual toughest. Best person to ask is professionals who play it, who played maybe both codes, or don't know like that, and then they'll say this was that. Or again, they're both going to have the pros and cons.
Yeah, for sure.
It's hard to say, but two great sports though.
Yeah,
I do like rugby union. Rugby union's also a favourite to watch.
Rugby union's better than rugby league.
I watch I watch more rugby union than I do rugby league.
Yeah.
Purely based on the fact of it's when it comes to the internationals it's a little bit of a I'd say it's a little bit of a faster game because it's constant. Rugby league with the stopping every 5 tackles and all that, going down, back heeling it and carrying on. Whereas rugby union just carries on. You got to get the ball back, and then the rucks that go in. Or the tackles that go in, it's just mental. It's just like heads flying everywhere.
In NFL, when they all like try and
when the ball's loose,
but then there's no ref to stop it. They just carry whoever's got the ball gets up then and carries on.
And he's got to let go of that ball because if he doesn't, there's a penalty.
Yeah,
so he's got to get the ball out and get it done. When you've got 7 or 8 guys on top of you, how hard is it to get the ball out? You know what I mean? It's tough. It's tough. But there you go. Let us know in the comments what you think is what you think it is. If you're unsure with NRL, just give it a check out because it's a brutal sport. It really is. I still call it rugby league.
The amount of fights I've seen in rugby is a lot more than like NFL and stuff.
Oh yeah,
like, you'll see people like punching their square in the face on the floor and everything.
Oh yeah,
with no helmet on or anything. You know what I mean?
You get a lot of rucks and a lot of scraps going on in rugby, and they just carry on. They just get up and carry on.
They play the game with like a red face.
Yeah. It's covered in blood and they just carry on. Yeah. Just bandage him up, but they don't even stop the game.
Yeah, literally.
Someone runs on the field, bandages him up, and he carries on. Yeah. And if you look at anyone who plays rugby with their ears, every single player's got cauliflower ears. Yeah,
I know. Right?
So it's but like I say, both brutal codes, but always great to see sport that's tough like that.
Yeah.
Hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget like and subscribe. And we'll see you on the next one.
Cheers.
Cheers.